Welcome to Digital Nation, our weekly plunge into the best of local TV from across the UK. From having your head in the clouds to get fit, or above the clouds to get smart, we bring you aerial delights you won't see anywhere else. Also this week, we meet the volunteer bikers saving lives across the northwest, the story of a sharp shooter in the Solent area who's aiming high, and a little turn on a charity catwalk in Manchester. And don't forget to tell us what you think using the hashtag #DigitalNation. First up, let's head to infinity and beyond with a trip to the Scottish Space School. The centre aims to inspire youngsters into careers that will take them out of this world. And it had a very special visit from a NASA astronaut who explains how he didn't quite make it to space first time round.
My name is Tom Marshburn. I'm a NASA astronaut. I came on board as a medical doctor, actually. I was an emergency physician, started working as a flight surgeon taking care of astronauts. Became very interested in the profession, obviously, at that point. Had to apply 3 times, but then was able to join the astronaut cadre and fly in space myself. I would say you start being an astronaut today. So what that astronauts study all the time. We love to work. We try to be the best we can at whatever we're doing. So that would mean doing the best that you can in school, taking care of yourself. We have to be healthy to fly in space. And perhaps take on some leadership roles where you have to make decisions that matter. Well, at the University of Strathclyde, they have the Scottish Space School. 100 students from around Scotland have come in to join us, and I'll have a chance to talk to them. Also to reach out to the community, go to schools around here, come here to the Science Center. Great privilege to be here just to talk about space, hopefully provide some inspiration for the wee ones.
You actually can't start early enough in inspiring young people into STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. Today we're at the Glasgow Science Centre where there are 900 primary school pupils for a space day.
I think the best way to inspire them is just let them know what's possible, what has happened and what can happen. And the people that thought of these things, the people that get to do it like myself, are just like them. We didn't know what our futures were going to be. We were doing the best we could in school, and certainly want them to believe and know that whatever they want to achieve is certainly possible.
Let's ride to Lancashire now and meet the Northwest Blood Bikers. This 300-strong crew aren't as fearsome as the name suggests. Quite the opposite, in fact. They're a team of kind-hearted volunteers who will get on their motorbike at any hour to deliver emergency supplies of blood to hospitals.
The reason why I became a blood biker basically was a thank you to the NHS and also the blood bikers themselves, because my niece was born at 25 weeks term, weighing only £1.10 ounce. She was in Preston neonatal for just over 6 months, and it was the blood bikers who actually brought in the emergency donor breast milk and the blood she required for her blood transfusions.
They're the blood bank on wheels, delivering urgent supplies to hospitals around the county. Northwest Blood Bikes are saving lives behind the scenes and hospitals millions of pounds.
Well, they were paying taxis or other couriers, and it was costing a fortune. We started going in May 2012, and our first year we did 800 call-outs. We're now just approaching 22,000.
At any hour when the call comes in, the bikers are willing to go the distance to save a life. But these delivery men are working for free.
Yeah, I've got a busy lifestyle. I've got 3 children under 12, and I'm also full-time employment. The biggest surprise I find is that people actually don't realise that we're all volunteers. Even the amount of NHS staff don't realise that we are volunteers.
I've on several occasions been asked how I managed to land such a cushy job riding a motorcycle up and down the motorways. When I tell them I actually do it for free and that it actually costs me because I don't bother claiming my expenses back, they are very surprised.
At the end of the road, the bikers don't know whose life it is they've potentially saved. But it's the love of the bike and the NHS that's the fuel that keeps them going.
I'm astonished the way we've gone. To say, when we started in 2012, we're probably about, there were 4 to 8 of us, and now we're up to about 270 odd volunteers now.
say 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, go and do the run. You get home, and my wife, when I get back into bed, will just give me a little tap on the shoulder, as if like, good man. You know, it's really, really rewarding.
As any good pupil will know, our glorious past had its more hazardous moments. And arguably one of the most dangerous jobs in British history was being the wife of King Henry VIII. One of these unfortunate women was Jane Seymour, and a painting of her was recently at auction in Cambridge.
She was reportedly the king's favourite wife, and the only queen to bear him a son and heir. The image of Jane Seymour became immortalised after her death in the portrait by the famous court painter Hans Holbein the Younger. Now a similar portrait has been uncovered, dating back to the same period. After hanging in a Cambridge townhouse for over 100 years, it's due to be sold at auction.
The identity of the sitter wasn't a problem because we knew she was Jane Seymour. What we weren't sure of was its age. I mean, whether it was a later copy or whatever. We did specialist paint testing of the, and the paint has also checked out to be of the period.
Holbein's original portrait of Jane Seymour, which was painted shortly after her marriage to the king, now hangs in Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna. But after her death, many replica paintings were made in the Holbein studio.
It compares to Holbein's very well, really. I mean, Holbein's is slightly brighter in coloration. The jewels are more finely painted. It's got a rather wonderful frame, which is probably a late Georgian frame, with the angel's wings taking the Queen up to heaven, when she died in childbirth, giving birth to the young prince. I think from history she was a gentle, quiet, pious girl. I think the king obviously loved her very much. He was distraught when she died. And I think too she's wearing lovely jewels, which obviously the king had given her, the ruby and pearl pendant. But she looks a sort of pious, gentle person, I think, from the portrait.
As one of the few surviving images of Jane Seymour from the 16th century, the portrait is something of a treasure, and is expected to fetch as much as £30,000 when it's sold at auction in Cambridge.
Let's whiz down to Portsmouth now and meet a sportswoman who'll be giving Rio 2016 her best shot. Lorraine Lambert had her leg amputated after a rock climbing accident nearly 2 decades ago. Now she shoots for Britain and is aiming for victory at the Paralympic Games.
It's a dream come true for leg amputee Lorraine Lambert, who has been preparing to represent Great Britain at the Paralympics for 5 years.
I actually found out a little bit earlier, but we weren't allowed to tell anyone, so I had a week where I couldn't speak to anyone. But now it's real knuckle down and get ready for Rio.
Lorraine had a leg amputated due to a rock climbing accident in 1997.
I was teaching rock climbing at the time. I fell, I slipped off, had the accident, and I was told to find a new career, which was a bit of a blow because I used to love working with children and teaching people to do sport that they wouldn't actually have thought of doing before. I'd done a PhD in clinical psychology. I've got an 11-year-old son, and he'd never seen me up walking or anything. So in 2010, when I'd had my leg off, first thing he said to me, I literally come round from theatre, when can we play football, Mum? So for me, it was an air rifle. Put the gun onto my hand like this, and just went, pop. Well, that was good. Had another go, pop. Brought the target back, 210s.
With only a short time left until the Paralympics in Rio kick off, Lorraine is busy preparing well for one of the biggest events of her sporting career.
The margins are so minute. If you imagine, like at 10 metres, you're hitting a 10.9, which is a perfect shot, is like hitting a pinhead. And you just have to make less mistakes than anyone else.
This summer, Euro football fever has taken over the nation. But for some, even after the last goal of the tournament is scored, the frenzy won't be over as they rekindle a childhood passion for sticker collecting. Big kids are spending big bucks in the quest to complete their Euro 2016 albums.
When I buy the stickers, I pretend that I'm buying them for my imaginary 7-year-old brother. So I go in and say, I'm looking for these things called, I think they're called Panini World Cup or Euro stickers? Yeah, I need a packet of those, please. Or 10, or 20 actually.
Ask people of a certain generation what the soundtrack to their childhood was. Some might say the Spice Girls, others maybe NSYNC, but for some it was...
Got. Need.
But while the kids of the 80s and 90s have seemingly grown up, clandestine meetings are taking place all over for collectors who never kicked the habit.
These are all my swaps in here. Fat stack of stickers.
For some, it rather takes over their lives.
I feel like someone that's never collected stickers can never quite understand the rush of sticking in a sticker into the one slot of a team page that you need.
It's not too warmly received by my family. They sort of give me the old, oh, have you got nothing better to spend your money on? I don't know, I enjoy it.
It's this geeky thrill of being 7 years old on the school playground again, and you know, saving up your pocket money all week to buy 5 packs of stickers for £1.50 or whatever.
But now, with incomes rather than pocket money, some fork out hundreds of pounds as they try to complete the whole album. And of course, the closer you get to completion, the more frustrating it gets.
Got him. Nemedy, got him. Fabregas and Cazorla, got them. Got him. Joking. Got every single one of them. There's 100 stickers here. I say I probably need about 15 of them, which, to be fair, isn't that bad going.
I will never rest until I've completed a sticker album.
Well, they might not rest, but we do, which is a good thing as we've come to the end of part 1. But first, quiz time. Where was the first ever recorded mainland pillar box erected in 1853? Was it A, London, B, Carlisle, or C, Liverpool? Find out if you were right after the break. Loving local? Then let us know what you think by using the hashtag #DigitalNation. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you where the first ever recorded mainland pillar box was erected back in 1853. And the answer is B, Carlisle. Post Office archives record that it was put up in the Botchergate area of the city, and it's since been commemorated with a replica pillar box. Let's get back on our bikes and cycle to Norwich, which has hosted the first stage of the Women's Tour of Britain. Some of the world's best cyclists, as well as thousands of fans, descended on the city for a spectacle of two-wheeled speed and excitement.
The world's top female cyclists battling it out in Norwich for the first time ever. And what an entrance they made. After a 3.5-hour race from Southwold, Christine Majerus took first place in stage 1 of this year's Women's Tour.
The whole day was really great. Like last year, that was one reason I really wanted to come back here, because the crowds are awesome. When I go onto the podium and I see those huge crowds, it's like, yeah, this is it. This is why we're doing it.
The crowds had been expecting to see Britain's Lizzie Armistead take first place after she was named favourite, but she had to settle for Adnam's Best British Rider Award. The crowds don't just mean support for the competitors though. Last year, it's thought a stage down in Suffolk brought a £1.1 million boost to the economy there. And Mick Bennett is race director. He says it could be just as good news for Norfolk.
People are coming in to watch the event all day. So they generally arrive 2 to 3 hours before the start, and you've got this lovely shopping centre here. So I think it's a great coup. And I hope Norwich thinks it's a great coup for you as well.
Of course, it wasn't just the pros out today. The crowds were treated with a range of cycling entertainment, from the cyclists of the future to those of the past, and something a little unconventional in between.
Well, we were approached by Active Norfolk to bring a musical element to the tour, and we thought, why not do something a bit different? It made sense to use bicycles, and I mean they're naturally percussive as well. If you think about the sound a bicycle makes when you're pedalling along.
Today's race may have been a little smoother than last year's men's tour of Britain through Norwich, but with no less excitement for crowds, it's another addition to the city's growing cycling legacy.
The saying goes, strike while the iron is hot. And that's quite literally what's been going on in Belfast, where we've been treated to a quick demonstration from a blacksmith who says that far from being a trade of the past, forging metal is still red hot today.
Well, basically, I'm doing a little blacksmithing demonstration. You see behind me there, I've got an anvil, which is basically a flat surface with a pointy bit in the end. And then in behind, I've got a big metal box, otherwise known as a forge. And then I've got my bellows, which is blowing air in below and keeping the fire going and giving it that extra bit of heat. That's all you really need to get started. Something I get asked quite often is, oh sure, that's a dying trade, or do you not shoe horses and things like that there. Blacksmithing isn't a dying trade. The village blacksmith you may have seen 30, 40 years ago, that guy doesn't exist. But these days the blacksmith is either like myself, who's an artist blacksmith who makes sculpture and art. But also you've got the heritage guys that go around and restore old gates and railings in the traditional fashion. You've got designer makers, guys who make gates and railings for high-end costs and stuff like that. They're so much more specialised. Traditionally the blacksmith would have been worked with pure iron, which has been a lot softer and easier to work with, but that's become harder to come by because the demand went down. So when I work with mild steel, which is basically iron with a bit more carbon in it. Fundamentally, the skills haven't changed, really. The traditional skills kind of, pass on and, from generation to generation.
Let's head to Oxford now, where one of the university's colleges has for the first time hung portraits of women in its hall. Until now, St Peter's didn't have any artwork of women in its main space. Now, students and academics will eat under the watchful gaze of past female luminaries.
The first ever portraits of women have been unveiled in the dining hall of St Peter's College, even though women have been admitted there since 1979.
It struck the governing body, which is the body that is the sovereign body of the college, as being somewhat peculiar that despite the fact that women have been students here and fellows for nearly 40 years, there was no representation of women in the college's principal public space. And we thought the time was long overdue to rectify that and sought to find an artist who could paint to the sort of standard that we wanted portraits of two of our most distinguished women. The Right Reverend Bishop Libby Lane, the first woman bishop in the Church of England, and the first woman official fellow at St Peter's, Professor Christine Greenhouse. I think that it's not merely a reflection of reality, but I hope that it shows to women who come to the college as students that this college recognises what it is with more iconographic truthfulness, and that it reminds them that there have been people who have done what they're doing before and done it to an enormously high standard, and it's there to provide clarity and confirmation of the fact that women are absolutely half of this college's life in terms of the student body, and to confirm the importance of that very obvious fact, which is that brilliant women occupy this college's spaces, past, present and future.
Now, dangling from a bit of fabric suspended from the ceiling isn't everyone's idea of a good time. Don't worry if you're not up for it yet though, as we've got a brave reporter in Birmingham who's been putting her life on the line, hanging from a thread for us.
Running, yes. Yoga, yes. Push-ups, getting there. But hanging off 2 strands of silk to exercise? Well, I'm here because rumour has it getting on one of these is the new, fun and exciting yet effective way to get fit. I don't know about you, but I've never quite considered it before. And that's exactly why Rogue Play are hosting Birmingham's first aerial and physical theatre festival.
Birmingham doesn't really have an aerial circus specific festival, so it's to bring in international and national artists as well as showcase local circus work as well. So it's a combination of masterclasses, anything from beginners to advanced, and then there's a free big highlight show that happens at the end.
According to mental health charity Mind, stepping outside your comfort zone and making small changes by trying something new can impact your mental well-being for the better.
There's a lot of people that come to us as well that are just kind of trying to build their confidence a little bit, or have kind of issues with their weight perhaps, or socialising with other people. So it's just a way of kind of getting fit, but at the same time doing that with other people in the space who are also struggling themselves as well, so it's kind of sharing that with other people.
Never thought that I would ever be doing this, and I never thought I'd be doing a piece to camera this way up. So what effect can this actually have on people when they have a go?
Well, you know, everybody feels it in their arms and in their grip when they first start as well, but it's really good for your core and really good for your upper body strength as well.
I may not have completely got off to a flying start, but I can officially say I've tried aerial silks. Mission accomplished.
Still to come, a bit of a fashion fix. But first, it's time for Creative Kingdom.
So, when was the first women's magazine published? The 1940s? The 1920s? Victorian era? No, you have to go right back to 1693, when the editor of a magazine in London checked his post bag and realised that there were plenty of cosmopolitan women out there who liked to take a break, find out what was in vogue and have something to chat about. The first women's mag published that very month was called The Lady's Mercury. Whilst not being glossy or rammed with fashion shoots, it was one sheet of paper consisting of nothing but an advice column. It was a woman's own periodical, and the best they could do at the time. The readership thought it was okay, but it closed down after only 4 issues. Ah well, that's life. Proof again that when it comes to creativity, innovation, and being absolutely fabulous, it's London Mint.
And finally to Manchester, where a very special event has been held to raise money for a new cancer support centre. The night of fashion and fun saw cancer patients and survivors storm the catwalk. And as things heated up, it was a good job some firefighters were on hand.
Every single model strutting their stuff on the Maggies on the runway catwalk has been affected by cancer. They were nominated or volunteered to take to the runway as part of fundraising for the new Maggie's Care Centre at the Christie.
I had chemo and went bald, and then my hair grew back and I've not known what to do with it. And having my hair done today and having it look so good has just been brilliant.
A lot of us wouldn't have even dreamed of getting on the stage in front of 500 people, never mind strutting our stuff, but going to get fitted for clothes, having that experience, having our hair done by Tadasabi, our makeup's done, stuff we wouldn't normally do.
The Maggie's Centre provides a caring environment alongside traditional cancer treatment. Already £11 million has been raised for its development.
The raise was from some individual donors, a group of individual donors, but now we need to fund the ongoing Maggie's experience for people.
It wasn't just fashion, music and burlesque were also featured. But the loudest cheer came when special guest Rick Astley took to the stage. It was a day of high emotion, from cheers to tears in the audience and on stage.
Having a cancer diagnosis can be a very lonely place, and I know this applies to relatives as well. We all live in fear of me relapsing, and I'm sure a lot of you here do as well. And we know that my life will be shortened by my illness. I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like for my husband, my parents, my brother and my friends.
You know, it's made it so much, so more enjoyable.
Emotional as well,
and thanking them as well, isn't it, for being there and supporting us through our cancer journey.
Yeah.
You know, and now we've got Maggie's there as well, that it's even better for the people starting, or the ones not even knowing they're going on the journey yet. It's there for them.
And I'm afraid we're out of time on this rundown of the best of local TV. If you've enjoyed watching, don't forget all the previous episodes of the show are at bbc.co.uk/digitalnation. Or why not check out your local TV station's website. But until next week, from me, bye-bye.